Hey friends, Editing Michaela here. Just wanted to jump in on the front end of this video with just a little bit of context. One of the niches that I've had in my Reiki practice for a long time is maternity Reiki, working with birthing folks, their families, and birthing professionals to support the full pregnancy journey from before getting pregnant to being pregnant to postpartum, even labor and delivery at times. It's a really beautiful, powerful, very specifically beneficial application of the system of Reiki. Reiki is just particularly well suited to support us in many aspects of the pregnancy journey. Again, whether we're the birthing person or support people in the family context or birth professionals. It can help us to navigate the ever-changing nature of the pregnant body, to navigate the emotional landscape that can be quite diverse during pregnancy and beyond, and to help facilitate early, powerful, spiritually oriented bonding with baby as baby is growing inside. And all of that is put into a class that I have taught a number of times in person in different contexts, including birthing centers, to families going through pregnancy as well as birth professionals, to equip them with tools and practices and context mindsets to support that process. Of course, all coming from the Japanese roots of the system of Reiki. And now that I am working on developing a catalog of self-study courses, pre-recorded courses that people can take at their own pace, at their own time, I jumped on the opportunity to put this particular class in that context, and I've now done that. So Empowered Childbirth with Reiki is now live on the HeartScapes Hearth. That is our self-study course. Just grab a self-study course, curl up by the fire, and enjoy. And so that link is down below if you want to check out the full course. But this video is the introduction video of that class. It gives you a more in-depth perspective on the coming together of the system of Reiki and the experience of pregnancy. It gives you a little bit of context and application of how those two things come together so beautifully, and just sets your mind for going on that journey. So I wanted to share that introduction with anybody who has interest, whether or not you yourself are on a pregnancy journey or expecting to be. You just have interest in the application of the system of Reiki to unique aspects of life. As you know, if you've been with me for any length of time, we always want to bring the system of Reiki back to what does this have to do with my daily life, and to explore that in specific contexts. So this might have something for you if you enjoy those kinds of inquiries. And certainly if you or someone that you know is on or beginning a pregnancy journey, this could be a really valuable resource for you. And if you have any other questions about it, I welcome them. You can drop them in the chat, or you can shoot me an email. That email address will be in the comments down below. All right, without any further ado, let me send you into this introduction to Empowered Childbirth with Reiki, and I hope you enjoy it. See you on the other side. Hello friends, welcome to HeartScapes, where we're learning the system of Reiki to live lives that are rooted, spacious, connected, and that provision us for the journeys back home to ourselves. My name is Michaela, welcome to the studio, and welcome to Empowered Childbirth with Reiki. When I think about those three qualities that I just named, that practicing the system of Reiki from its Japanese origins engenders in our lives, to live lives that are rooted, spacious, and connected, there is no better aspect of life that I can think of to apply those principles than to the experience of pregnancy and childbirth. To bring these qualities to bear on our experience of bearing a child means to walk through this experience on a grounded, solid footing of empowerment and self-compassion, to feel like we are firmly rooted in ourselves, in our communities, in the world, and in this incredible process that we are moving through. To be spacious of the mind, of the heart, to bring a sense of possibility and openness, as well as spaciousness to the body itself as we literally grow in size while simultaneously feeling as though the space inside is shrinking. And of course, to have the experience of deep connection to our own self, to our bodies, to this life that we are growing inside that body, to our family, to our community, and to the world, is an incredibly important part of the experience of going through pregnancy. And the system of Reiki offers us an elegant, accessible, and beautiful perspective and set of practices to have this experience in our pregnancy journey. Because all of these qualities of the body, the mind, the heart are challenged greatly sometimes by the experience of pregnancy. Simultaneously, the experience of pregnancy and childbirth can also bring us into profound connection with our own sense of power, our sense of possibility, and our sense of being deeply connected in this world. So that's why I created this class, to bring my 11 years of practice as a Reiki practitioner and teacher, my experience of giving birth twice to 2 daughters, and my love of working with people to bring this beautiful practice into our lives, our daily life, in ways that are accessible and that make a practical difference in our day-to-day experience. Because if we only have access to our spiritual practices, our wellness practices, when we sequester ourselves from our life, when we take a break from life, if they're not actually available to us in the midst of our daily challenges, then they're of limited usefulness to us. And in the experience of pregnancy and childbirth, we have an incredible opportunity to be simultaneous with our practice and with our life. I often talk about the miraculous mundanity of life, and the way in which life is really built of a series of mundane miracles. This great paradox of life and of our existence is that there are so many things that are day-to-day things, absolutely normal, absolutely mundane. And yet when we take a pause and we really observe what is happening, if we stay present to that moment, we see what an incredible miracle life is, and that really our experience of life is a series of miracles that are unfolding at all times. And the experience of childbirth, of pregnancy, and beyond is one of those places where we can absolutely see the miraculous in the completely mundane and everyday experience of bringing life into this world. So I'm excited to jump into this work with you. And here in this opening video, I want to just orient you a bit to me, to what we're up to here in this class, and to just kind of chart our course for this time together. First, I want to offer a bit more of an introduction so that you know who is guiding you on this journey. My name is Michaela Daystar. I'm the owner of HeartScapes Reiki and Healing Arts Studio. We host a collective of healing arts practitioners, and we serve as a hub for community gatherings. And of course, this cozy studio is also the home to my Reiki practice. I offer one-on-one sessions with clients, also working with small groups and with couples. And I have a particular love and place in my heart for maternity Reiki, working with birthing folks throughout their journey at all stages of pregnancy and even up into and through the labor and delivery process. One of my greatest joys is teaching the system of Reiki. Ushering in the next generation of Reiki practitioners and teachers is truly one of my greatest joys. And I do this teaching, offer these spaces for learning both in person and online, doing so from the perspective of the Japanese origins of the system of Reiki, finding this to be, number one, the most effective way to engage the system of Reiki, a deeply profound and rich experience diving into those origins, which we'll get a little bit of a taste of in a little bit here in this class. I also find this to be the best way to be in good integrity with this practice and to be aligned with the intentions and the history and the culture from which this practice came. This focus and this strong value system around cultural alignment and integrity is also directly linked to my past professional life as a person working in universities. I spent 13 years prior to opening HeartScapes running leadership development programs in universities and supporting students to deepen their capacities and commitments to social justice. And it was in that context that really laid the seed for the way in which I approach the system of Reiki as a journey from the inside out, as a form of self-empowerment, as a way to find your voice, to find your advocacy for yourself, to connect deeply in compassionate ways across difference and around challenges and difficulties in our life and in the world. And I've really loved exploring the connections between those early years, building capacities and commitments around social justice, and the work of deep inner spiritual development. And it is from that lens that I really step into this work with this class, and the ways in which the birthing journey can be a source of empowerment for everyone involved, and can be a place where a person finds a deep inner reservoir of their truest capabilities and their truest self. And it is at that point that I want us to shift to begin looking at the ways in which we can orient towards birth through the lens of Reiki. And for that, we're going to turn to one of my mentors. So we're going to begin by looking to Ina May Gaskin and her book, Birth Matters, A Midwife's Manifesto. And Ina May says, "Birth matters. It matters because it is the way we all begin our lives outside of our source, our mother's bodies. It's the means through which we enter and feel our first impression of the wider world. For each mother, it is an event that shakes and shapes her to her innermost core. Women's perceptions about their bodies and their babies' capacities will be deeply influenced by the care that they receive around their time of birth." There's a poignancy for me in sharing that quote and this class with you on this particular day when I am recording this class, because this is the day after my oldest child's birthday. And so I am very much in the mindset of remembering that time. She just turned 27. I was only 20 years old when she was born, and so didn't even really feel like a complete adult at the time. And this was a momentous experience. It is for any of us. For me, at such a young age, it was really quite overwhelming. And when I think about what made the difference between potentially having had a very traumatic experience, because there were some difficulties in the birthing process itself, and what ultimately felt like an empowering experience, was the care that I received from others and the care that I granted to myself throughout the pregnancy and during those hours of childbirth. And that's really at the heart of why I am wanting to bring together the work of the system of Reiki and the experience of childbirth, because each of us deserves to have that level of care for our bodies, care for our minds, care for our hearts, care for our spirits, and for our community. And so it is central to the goals of this class to offer a form of support to you, to be part of your support team in affirming the capacity of your body, the capacity of your baby and your bodies to work together to do this momentous thing, and to affirm that however your birth looks, however it unfolds, it is good and right, and that you can find a sense of empowerment within it no matter what happens. To that end, I want to, of course, offer you practices and perspectives from the system of Reiki that help you to generate that sense of empowerment and support from the inside out. It is incredibly important to have community around us, and it is incredibly important to have our own pathway to feeling grounded, spacious, and connected in our pregnancy and childbirth journey. And so, of course, this class is going to be full of practices and principles that you can apply in your day-to-day life beyond pregnancy and childbirth, but of course, with special attention on this experience. And so this class is going to have several parts. We're going to begin with an overview of what Reiki is, how we are to understand it from the perspective of its Japanese origins, which is this perspective that I teach from. We're going to look at certain fundamental principles within those foundations of the system of Reiki that are particularly relevant and supportive to the experience of pregnancy. We won't be deep diving into the history of Reiki, all the components of Reiki, but I do want you to have a fundamental grasp of the system as a complete system of practice, and then give you a little bit of a deep dive into these principles that we'll be using for the rest of the class. So we'll do an introduction to Reiki in our next video after this one. We're then going to look at 3 aspects of childbirth and pregnancy that Reiki is particularly well suited to support us in. That is going to begin with flowing with the ever-changing nature of the pregnant body. So addressing the changes in our body, how we might feel about those changes, how we can bring relief to some of the uncomfortable changes that happen, and how we can stay present even in those uncomfortable changes to the needs of our body, to be in relationship with our body and the changes that it is experiencing in a way that is as functional and beautiful and empowered as possible. We're then going to look at navigating the emotional landscape of pregnancy. And we will be using practices with the precepts of the system of Reiki to help us kind of chart a course through that sometimes volatile, sometimes rapidly changing landscape, that emotional landscape, the heartscape that we each carry, and that can fluctuate quite a bit through pregnancy. So we'll work with some practices that allow us to work with that emotional landscape. Thirdly, we're going to look at the topic of early bonding with baby. There are some practices within the system of Reiki that are so beautifully suited to bringing us into a sense of deep connection with this little being that we are growing inside of us, to do that throughout the entire journey and to deepen that relationship as we go. Now, in all of these sections, I'm going to be speaking, of course, largely to the pregnant folks who are watching this class, but also to your birthing support system, because again, we are looking at connected community in the experience of bringing children into the world. And so I'll be talking about these practices from both of the perspectives. So what is the value of these practices to the person who is pregnant, and what is the value of these practices to their support folks? And that includes your own well-being, your own mental and physical health as you go through the experience of supporting this process, as well as ways that you can specifically use these practices to support the pregnant person, both during pregnancy and in the childbirth experience itself. So there'll be something for everyone in the process as we go throughout this journey. And I want to land this video with another quote, this one from a dear friend and colleague of mine, Julie Piazza of Birth Wisdom Yoga. She has a book that walks you through the process of empowered pregnancy and childbirth through the lens of yoga. And I'll put her information in our resources in case that is a pathway that you would also like to incorporate. System of Reiki is incredibly flexible, and it incorporates with many other systems of practice from the medical side, from the wellness side, from the physical movement side. And so I strongly encourage you to bring together whatever forms of practice feel supportive for you. And Birth Wisdom Yoga is an excellent resource. So I'll share that resource with you in our resource section. And we're going to land with this quote from Julie. She says that when a woman is guided to listen to what she needs in labor and childbirth, her birth experience can become an affirmation of lifelong empowerment. Her birth experience can become an affirmation of lifelong empowerment. And I want us to land there because I have found that to be true. In both of my pregnancies, in both of my childbirth experiences, there were certainly challenges, but the things that stay in my mind, the things that rose to my consciousness and that are with me to this day, are the moments in which something came alongside me or came out from within me that made me feel empowered, even in those moments when I felt like I had no control at all over what was happening. It was profoundly life-changing to me to discover that I could experience a feeling of calm and empowerment coming from within, even in those moments when I felt like I wasn't in control. And that is what I want for you. It is what I have been able to cultivate in my life since those experiences with childbirth through the system of Reiki. Again, a practice which is elegant, accessible, and beautifully suited to support us in this experience. And with that, let's go ahead and get started.